Hello and welcome. Today we are comparing the top 3 mini action cameras, the Insta360 GO 3S, Insta360 GO Ultra and the DJI Osmo Nano. Which is the best, or more importantly, which is the best one for you? Well, let's try to figure it out. About 1 year ago, I posted this video where we did a comparison of the then top 3 mini action cameras on the market, the Insta360 GO 3S, the somewhat aging DJI Action 2, and the at the time newly released GoPro Hero 4K. And in that comparison, for me, the GO 3S emerged as the clear winner. Well, now we have 2 new challenges for the GO 3S, also from Insta360, the new GO Ultra, and DJI's re-entry into the mini action camera market, the Osmo Nano. Now it's clear that both of these new cameras have really raised the bar when it comes to performance and capabilities. The question is, have they taken it too far and moved away from the fun go-anywhere mini action camera concept that is the GO 3S? So in today's video, we're going to be evaluating all 3 of these cameras across a variety of different categories with a particular emphasis on their performance as mini action cameras. So there's a lot to cover, so as usual I'll place the chapters up here and on the video timeline. But before we get into it, an important disclaimer: the GO Ultra was provided at no charge from Insta360. I've owned it for a couple of months already. I've already produced several videos, and if you watch those videos you will see that Insta360 has zero influence over my output, and this will be a completely fair and objective comparison. And of course, if you enjoyed today's video, please remember to hit that like button and consider subscribing to the channel for a lot more similar content. And if you want to support the channel, please consider using my affiliate links, which will take you straight to the best prices I can find on all of the cameras featured in today's video, as well as recommended accessories and even some of my recording equipment. So with all that said, let's get on with it. So just as we did in last year's comparison, I'm going to evaluate the cameras across these 8 categories, awarding up to 10 points in each category. But for 2 of those categories, which I consider particularly important, I'm going to double those scores to 20, giving us a maximum of 100 points. And of course, the camera with the highest score is, at least in my opinion, the best overall camera. Now that being said, these are just my opinions, and depending on how you plan on using the camera, you may find some categories way more important than others. And one final thing before we get to the comparison, you may have noticed that I have not included price as a comparison category. Basically, I just want to rank the cameras first, and then we'll talk about price at the end. So basically, all 3 cameras have the same overall concept. You have a detachable, standalone, and very simple camera which is designed to be as small as possible for flexible mounting and placement, and the small camera connects to a larger module which provides extra battery capacity, a touchscreen, communication ports, and so on. Now, Insta360 refers to this larger module as the Action Pod, whereas DJI refer to it as the Vision Dock, but the overall concept is basically the same, and when the 2 modules are connected, you have something which looks, feels, and works much more like a conventional action camera. But the 2 companies have taken a very different approach when it comes to how the 2 modules are connected. In the case of Insta360, the camera sits in the Action Pod, whereas with the DJI, the Osmo Nano sits on its Vision Dock. And here I feel Insta360 has taken the better approach. So in third place then, I'm going with the Osmo Nano. While the overall idea of just snapping the camera onto the Vision Dock is pretty cool, ultimately it's not as practical and robust as Insta360's. Firstly, the connection is not as effortless as it should be. You cannot simply snap the 2 modules together. It rarely works that way. You have to hold the buttons on the side of the Vision Dock and then they will snap together quite easily, but this makes it a 2-handed operation and frankly quite awkward. Comparing this to the old Action 2, these 2 modules would snap together extremely easily. You could even just bring the 2 modules close together and they would connect automatically. Even when the two are connected, the connection doesn't inspire confidence. There's quite a bit of movement, and I'm really not sure how much tough treatment this connection could withstand. Next, once connected, the resulting camera combination has this unusual vertical configuration, which feels a little bit unnatural and awkward, particularly for handheld operation. Also, due to the stacked configuration, this limits the size of the screen, which as a result is the smallest in our test group. Talking of the screen, yes, it can face in either direction, but as we saw previously, switching it is quite awkward, and certain features like file transfer can only be accessed in this configuration. Separating the other two cameras in this category was a little more difficult because the design and concept of the two is so similar. But ultimately I'm going to give first place in this category to the Go Ultra. Firstly, the connection with the Action Pod is just so simple. You just drop it in place, you can even do it without looking, and once in place, the connection is rock solid. And the resulting combination looks, feels, and works like a regular action camera. Now, I do like the addition of the grip on the front of the camera, although it's a little bit awkward to use with the camera in this configuration because necessarily your thumb is going to rest on the screen. Now, you can lock the screen, which prevents you from changing something by accident. Or another tip, you can just raise the flip-up screen slightly and put your thumb behind it. And on the topic of the screen, the Go Ultra has the largest screen of the three, which of course is also a flip-up screen, allowing you to use it front or rear facing. So that means second place goes to the Go 3S. Now it shares a lot of the great design features with the Go Ultra. Connection is very simple and rock solid. The resulting camera looks, feels, and works like a regular action camera and has the same flip-up screen concept, albeit slightly smaller than its bigger brother. But there are two small things which marks the Go 3S down compared to the Go Ultra. Firstly, with the standalone camera, the button to power on and off and start and stop recording is essentially the entire face of the camera, so it's too easy for this to get activated by accident, particularly if you have the standalone camera in your pocket or a bag. In comparison, the Go Ultra now has a recessed button, which is much more difficult to operate accidentally. And here you can also see the other advantage that the Go Ultra has over the Go 3S, the addition of this new lanyard attachment point. So when it comes to the overall design and concept, I'm going to award 9 points to the Insta360 GO Ultra, 8 points to the Go 3S, and 6 points to the DJI Osmo Nano. So when connected to their respective pods and docks, the DJI Osmo Nano is actually the lightest of the three and arguably the smallest, but I guess that depends on whether you prefer the tall but very slim form factor of the DJI versus the shorter but thicker form factor of the Go 3S. But let's face it, you're not buying these cameras for the size of the combined modules. What you're looking for is to have the smallest possible standalone camera. And this is where the Go 3S really sets the benchmark. Now, if you look at the specifications, the differences don't sound that great, but when you place them side by side, the difference in size between the Go 3S and the other two is really noticeable. And clearly the much smaller size of the Go 3S will allow you to mount it in places where the other two simply will not go. As far as the Go Ultra and the Osmo Nano are concerned, specification-wise they're pretty much identical. And here too, I guess it depends on personal preference whether you prefer the square and narrowed form factor of the Go Ultra versus the elongated but somewhat thicker form factor of the Osmo Nano. Now, as I mentioned earlier, size and weight is a double points category, and for me, the Go 3S is the clear winner, so I'm going to award the full 20 points to the Go 3S, and as far as second place is concerned, I'm going to call it a tie between the other two and give both of these 15 points. and let's go ahead and add those points to our running total. When it comes to ruggedness and action readiness, there is not a lot to choose between the three. All three have replaceable lens guards, and all three standalone cameras have a waterproof rating down to 10 meters. When connected with their respective pods and docks, disappointingly all three are only splashproof, and here I feel if one of these manufacturers could come up with a fully waterproof docked solution, that would be a major advantage. In their connected configurations, I do feel that the Insta360 pair seem a little more rugged. And returning to the standalone cameras for a moment, with the GO 3S being the smallest and lightest of the three, I just feel that it would be a little bit tougher to damage. So when it comes to ruggedness and action readiness, I'm going to give first place to the GO 3S and award 9 points, in second place the GO Ultra with 8 points, and in third place the Osmo Nano with 7 points. When it comes to features and capabilities, if we look at the GO Ultra and the Osmo Nano, there really are very few, if any, compromises compared to their full-size siblings. So that would be the Ace Pro 2 for Insta360 or the Action 5 Pro from DJI. You get all the same shooting modes, resolutions, frame rates, and other settings that you'll find on the full-size camera. Now the same can't be said for the GO 3S, where there are definitely some compromises compared to a full-size camera. Yes, you get all of the usual recording modes, you can record in 4K, but as soon as you want to do anything more advanced, like increase the frame rate or even shoot vertically, you have to drop the resolution. And there are also a number of key features which are missing on the GO 3S. For example, the complete lack of any wireless or external microphone support, which for me is a big miss. So in the category features and capabilities, the GO 3S definitely comes in third place. Now trying to separate the other two is a little more difficult because the two manufacturers have taken a different approach when it comes to adding extra bells and whistles. In the case of the Osmo Nano, these are generally focused on enhanced quality and features that will appeal to more serious creators, things like 10-bit color, D-Log-M, 4K at 120 frames per second, and for my money, far better wireless microphone support. Turning to the GO Ultra, here the extra features are more focused on convenience and functionality, and I think will appeal to a broader user base. For example, the clarity zoom, the ability to pause, resume, or cancel recordings. You have interval recording, kids modes, even things like Apple Find My support. So which one is the best obviously is going to depend on which of those features you find the most important. So when it comes to features and capabilities, I'm going to call this one a tie. So when it comes to features and capabilities, I'm going to award 7 points to the GO 3S, 9 points to the GO Ultra, and also 9 points to the Osmo Nano. So let's go ahead and add those into our running total. When it comes to operation, all three cameras have excellent touchscreen interfaces, although I do find generally that the Insta360 interface is a little more slick and the touchscreens tend to be a little more responsive. That being said, I do find Insta360 tend to overload and clutter their interface with too many features, modes, and settings that most people don't use. Ideally, some of these settings and features could be hidden in submenus, and it would be really nice if users could customize the interface to hide some of the things they don't want to see. Turning to the Osmo Nano, I do find the interface to be cleaner and simpler than Insta360's, but sometimes that does come at the expense of hiding important features in odd and hard to find locations. And as I mentioned, the interface is just not as slick and polished as Insta360's. One other thing regarding operation of the Osmo Nano, I don't like the fact that the Vision Dock only has one button. This does limit your flexibility and could even result in you making mistakes. So when it comes to operation, I'm ranking the Osmo Nano in third place. When it comes to separating the other two, the GO Ultra does have a couple of unique operation features that the others do not, the first of which being the screen reader function, which gives you an audible acknowledgement of certain commands. For example, whenever you start and stop a recording.
Start recording. Shooting complete.
Which can be really useful in the event that you're not able to look at the screen or even see the camera. Another unique feature of the Go Ultra is the ability to play back your recorded files even when the camera is not placed in the action pod. So unlike the other two, even when you're operating the camera remotely, you can review your footage without having to go to the camera. So for the category operation, I'm going to give 7 points to the Osmo Nano, 8 points to the Go 3S, and 9 points to the Go Ultra, and let's add those into our running total. Before we get into the details, it's important to point out that the numbers I'll be quoting in this section are based on my own testing, not manufacturer's specifications. So let's start out with how much recording time you get of a fully charged camera. And for my tests, I focused on recording at 4K 30 frames per second with what I would consider pretty normal settings on the camera. When it comes to the docked configuration, all three cameras produced very similar results, allowing for around about 2 hours of 4K recording, but it is important to point out that in the case of the two Insta360 cameras, this was a single continuous recording, whereas on the Osmo Nano this was interrupted by incidences of overheating. So in the docked configuration, even when recording at 4K 30 frames per second, I was seeing overheating around about every 30 minutes. Now, with that being said, as I mentioned earlier, the main focus of this comparison is on the standalone cameras, and there the results look a little bit different. Now, in the case of the Go 3S, obviously the price you pay for that portability is the smallest battery, and not surprisingly, this resulted in the lowest runtime from the standalone camera of just over half an hour, with the other two cameras allowing you to record 4K 30 for about another 15 minutes. And in the standalone configuration, there were no issues of overheating with the Osmo Nano, at least not at 4K 30 frames per second. I did get overheating issues, but only using the more demanding modes such as 4K 60 or 4K 120 slow motion. When it comes to charging performance, here the Go 3S is the slowest of the three. When it comes to charging the Action Pod, it charges it from 0 to 80% in about 40 minutes. With the other two achieving the same in less than half of that time, but once again the main focus here should be on the standalone camera, and here the Go 3S was a little bit closer, although still being the slowest of the three, with the Go Ultra being the fastest charging of the three. So when it comes to battery performance and endurance, for me the clear winner is the Go Ultra. If I was judging this purely on battery life and charging, I would give second place to the Osmo Nano and third place to the Go 3S, but because of those overheating issues impacting the overall endurance, I'm going to call it a two-way tie for second place. So when it comes to battery performance and endurance, I'm going to give 8 points to the Go Ultra, 6 points to the Osmo Nano, and also 6 points to the Go 3S, and let's add those to our running total. Last year, when I published my review of the Insta360 GO 3S, one of the things I complained about was its reliance on onboard memory instead of using a memory card. Now, using onboard memory does offer a few advantages, but these are by far outweighed by the disadvantages, including a complex process in offloading your recordings. And until you have an opportunity to do that, you are limited to the amount of memory available on the camera. Unlike when using a memory card, if it gets full, you cannot simply swap it out for a fresh one and continue recording. Now, Insta360 does offer a quick reader accessory for the Go 3S, which even allows transfer of files from the camera onto a memory card, but it's all a little cumbersome and it's not a great solution. Now, apparently Insta360 recognized that relying on onboard memory wasn't the best idea, so when they launched the successor, the Go Ultra, they made a lot of noise about this now having a removable memory card. And then along came the DJI Nano, boasting both onboard memory as well as support for a memory card, something we've seen on earlier DJI cameras, so you would think this would be the ideal solution. But unfortunately, DJI went with a slightly different implementation when it comes to the Osmo Nano. You see, unlike previous models, the Osmo Nano cannot record directly to the memory card. You can only record directly to the onboard memory. The memory card slot in the Vision dock only offers you the capability of transferring the files from the camera to a memory card, which sounds reasonable enough, but unfortunately it's a very slow process and also drains quite a lot of your battery power if you're doing this in the field. Now, there is one positive to the onboard memory of the Osmo Nano, and that is for those people who typically hook up the camera directly to your desktop. If you use the right connection, the transfer speed is blazing fast. So when it comes to storage and workflow, I'm going to give first place and 9 points to the Go Ultra, second place and 7 points to the Osmo Nano, and third place and 6 points to the Go 3S. And let's add those to our running total. Okay, so our final category is definitely one of the most important and as such carries double points, and that is the quality of the recordings. So we're going to focus on both video quality and audio quality, but when it comes to the final points assignment, I'll definitely be focusing more on the video quality. Now, just to be clear, this is out of the box recording quality. Nothing has been optimized on any of the cameras. We'll be recording at 4K 30 frames per second using the highest bitrate of each camera with everything set to default and automatic settings. So take a look and see what you think. Okay, let's check out the video quality of the three cameras. I have the Go 3S on your right, the Go Ultra in the middle, and the Osmo Nano on your left. So how does the video quality compare here in this indoor environment? Now I have all three cameras set to 4K 30 frames per second with all settings set to fully automatic. So this is basically the out-of-the-box video quality. And of course, we also want to test out the audio quality. So up to this point, you've been listening to me over the onboard microphones of the Go 3S. Let's now switch to the Go Ultra and compare the audio quality from the Go Ultra. Now you're listening to me over the onboard microphones of the Go Ultra. How is the audio quality? How does it compare to the Go 3S? And let's now switch over to the Osmo Nano. So now you're listening to me over the onboard microphones of the Osmo Nano. How is the audio quality in our indoor environment? How does it compare to the Go 3S or the Go Ultra? Okay, let's check out the audio quality using the onboard microphones of the three cameras. It's a little bit windy today, but here in amongst the trees we are quite sheltered, so hopefully that won't be too much of a problem. So let's start out with the Go 3S. So currently you're listening to me over the onboard microphones of the Go 3S. How is the audio quality here in this outdoor environment? Let's now switch over to the Go Ultra. So now you're listening to me over the onboard microphones of the Go Ultra. How is the audio quality? How does it compare to the Go 3S? And finally, let's switch over to the Osmo Nano. So now you're listening to me over the onboard microphones of the DJI Osmo Nano. How is the audio quality? How does it compare to both the Go 3S and Go Ultra? So let's start with the easy part, and that is audio quality. So when using the onboard microphones, I really don't think there's much to choose between the three cameras. Yes, possibly the two Insta360 cameras did a little bit better indoors, but I don't think it's enough to make any real difference in the scoring. And as we already mentioned, the main focus of our scoring is going to be on video quality. Now, the way I'm looking at evaluating this is by comparing the video quality of these cameras to the best-in-class action cameras currently on the market. So that would be the Insta360 Ace Pro 2, DJI Action 5 Pro, and even the GoPro Hero 13. And with that in mind, I think it's pretty clear to say that the Go 3S doesn't quite match up to that level. It has a much smaller sensor than the other two, which impacts its dynamic range and low light performance, and overall it lacked the sharpness and detail that we saw on the other two. I think second place is going to go to the Osmo Nano here. I think when it performed at its best, it had the best image quality of the three, better sharpness, better detail, better overall exposure. But as we saw, it did struggle in several instances when it came to stabilization, which degraded the overall image. So that means first place in video quality goes to the Go Ultra. Now at its peak, I don't think the image quality was quite as good as the Osmo Nano, but it was almost there, and I think what makes the difference is that it achieved this consistently throughout all of the tests. So when it comes to overall video and audio quality, I'm going to give 12 points to the Go 3S, 15 points to the Osmo Nano, and 16 points to the Go Ultra. And if we add those scores to our running totals, we get our final result. We have the Insta360 GO Ultra in first place with 83 points, the Insta360 GO 3S in second place with 76 points, and in third place the DJI Osmo Nano with 72 points. So those are my rankings for these three cameras, but I do hasten to add that these are based on my opinion, based on how you intend to use the camera. You may find different categories more or less important, or you may even have a different rating within the category. But there is one more important category that we have not yet discussed, and that of course is pricing. Well, as it turns out, my ranking exactly reflects the old saying, you get what you pay for, with the first place Go Ultra coming in at $450, the second place Go 3S coming in at $380, and the third place Osmo Nano coming in at $330. And despite coming in third in this test, the Osmo Nano does have a lot of compelling features, so for the right user, this could be a real bargain. So that is my take on the top 3 mini action cameras, but what do you think? I would love to hear your comments in terms of which of these you think is the best action camera. Please drop your comments into the comments section, and of course if you enjoyed today's video, please remember to hit that like button and consider subscribing to the channel for a lot more similar content. Thank you for watching.